Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to wherever you are listening from or watching from. My name is Jamie Robinson, and welcome to episode 254 of the Wakefield Trinity Heritage Podcast and our first Bellevue breakdown of the season. Now, last year we actually started previewing all of our Super League home games with a special guest from the opposition fan base or a fellow podcaster. This went really well with you guys, you listeners, actually, from a listenership point of view, and you all found it really interesting and fascinating. But from our point of view, it actually became quite difficult to organise and manage every other week. We were let down a few times, and the guys who came on were excellent, but it was quite difficult to track people down. But we did want to continue this because people were really interested, and it actually got us hooked into the games even a little bit more. So we spoke to our good mate and familiar voice of the podcast, Mike Butcher, who's been on kind of the Vacant Island videos and the fans forums before, who loves his Super League. And he graciously agreed to become our resident Super League expert every other week and help us preview the home games for the Super League season. But before we bring Mike on, let me introduce my co-host, my dad, Lee Robinson. How are we doing, Dad?
Yes, thanks for joining us for our first game preview episode of the season. Like Jamie says, it's called the Bellevue Breakdown, and this weekend's game against Toulouse. I'd forgotten we were on YouTube this week, so I forgot to have a shave, but it's all good. Um, this week, the first of many with our first of many of these Bellevue breakdowns with our ever reliable sidekick, Mike Butcher. Mike, thanks for joining us, mate.
Oh, cheers for having me. I mean, first of all, it's a bit of an honour to be able to come on and chat about Super League generally for a bit during the evening. I mean, that phrase "resident experts" come with a bit of pressure in it, but so go easy on me. But I'll try my best. I mean, first and foremost, I'm a massive Wakefield Trinity fan, but an even bigger rugby league fan. So, yeah, I do tend to watch it a little bit and follow players and stuff like that. But yeah, let's see how it goes. And for the record, Lee, I like the 7 o'clock stubble now. I think you should keep that.
Thank you.
I know we're a family of baldies, but we can all grow some decent facial hair. My granddad, dad's dad, can grow a big beard as well. So there's peaks and flows to what we can grow.
I'd say it's all a bit upside down.
Yeah. For those of you on YouTube, if you are just listening to this podcast, I'll describe it. But Mike, you're actually wearing a bit of a retro France kit for us, aren't you? As well, everyone can see it. Has he got a nail? It's just France on the back, number 13.
Yeah.
Tell us about where you got that from. Your Viva la France today.
I was trying to work it out because I dug it out from under the bed. I knew I had it somewhere. I think it's year 2000, and it might be Freddie Bonke or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. Or it could have been, who was the lad who played for Jerome Guisset? Could have been him. But no, I think this must have been from a trip to France to go and watch my dad. My dad covered rugby league all over the place. So we got to a few really kind of special games. We like to go over to France, and yeah, they played a few internationals there. They're never like super well attended or anything like that, but it just don't matter if you're a rugby league nerd, does it? So I must have picked it up then, I think.
Do you think did you buy it or did you get it off a player?
No, I bought this one. Definitely bought this one. I did get one given by a player, which was, funnily enough, Julian Rinaldi, who ended up going to Wakefield 2 years later. But I wouldn't have known that at the time. And it was in the sort of the grand final, the Elite One grand final, as it will have been. And UTC Union Trezis Catalan were playing Toulouse in Narbonne, and there was a big pitch invasion afterwards. And so obviously, thought, well, I'm going on it. You got to remember, this is pre-Catalan Super League, so I'll have been very young at the time. So got excited. My brother ran on. We were talking to Julian Rinaldi, and he gave us his shirt. So I've got the number 9 UTC Catalan shirt from the year before they came up.
Brilliant. I love that. Before we touch on or start on Toulouse, in real time, even though people will be listening to this, they'll already know the news, but in real time, Dad, the Challenge Cup draw has just been made, and we've got Leeds Rhinos at home in a couple of weekends' time. Tell us your immediate thoughts on that.
Could have been worse, could have been better, couldn't it? It's one of those, as soon as it came out, I thought, you're hoping for a home draw. You're hoping for a home draw against Oldham, Keighley or Goole, or at least Huddersfield, York or Bradford. So when Leeds came out, it was like, well, it's not the best we could have had. It's not the worst we could have had because we're not going to Wigan, St Helens or Hull Kingston Rovers. It'll be a sellout at Bellevue. BBC will probably pick it on the television. And why not? It's like we're going to different levels at the moment at Wakefield Trinity. So why can't we go beat? I think it's just one of those psychological things, isn't it? Leeds in the cup, you think, oh, crikey. But why not? It's the season hasn't started yet. So I think the round, I think it's mid-March, so we'll probably have 5 or 6 Super League games by then, so it'll have evened itself out. And why not? I don't think Leeds will envy coming to us on a Saturday afternoon in March.
I was just going to say, Mike, I think Leeds hearing that they've got Wakefield away in the early rounds of the Cup won't be too happy either.
No, not really. And I think the way our squad's shaping up, I think we're looking to be in and around where they are too. So it should be really evenly matched. It's an occasion. It's a good job we don't have loop fixtures still in it though. That's for sure. Could have ended up being the fourth, maybe possibly fifth if we got them again in the playoffs. So, yeah, it'll still be a great occasion though. There's a slightly different flavour to it being in the cup, in it, a slightly more historic flavour, and like you don't really get much more of a historic rivalry than Wakefield Leeds.
Well, Dad, how quickly are BBC going to snap this up and start playing Water Splash and Don Fox's missed kick within 3 seconds of the broadcast here?
Yeah, he's nailed on BBC, isn't it? And will forget every other Wakefield Leeds game we've ever had. And we haven't had much success in the cup. I don't think we've beaten Leeds in the cup in my lifetime. I've seen a couple of defeats and a couple of stuffings along the way. Never mind 1968. Yeah, but I'm sure the BBC will bring it out and get Ian Brook out of the cobwebs and ask him about 68 again.
It's a bit of a quick question, Daddy. I'm sure you got your research there, but I can't remember playing Leeds in the Challenge Cup often, even in my lifetime. Can you think or look at maybe me and Mike can chat whilst you get your
yeah? Well, I will tell you. I know. We played them a few years ago. We have played them in Super League because we got stuff by 60.
Oh, right.
I will tell you as I'm opening up everything as I'm sat here now. And I remember in the 70s we played them as well when I was a teenager. When we got beat as well. So we last played him in the Challenge Cup in 2014 and lost by 60 points to 4. Before that, it was 2012. We lost 38-18 away. In 2002, we lost 46-10 away. Then it was back to 1982. We lost 20 points to 2 at home. That was in the rain. Back in 78, we lost 28-6. So it's on and on and on. 72, we lost. 68, Wembley, we lost. 1953, we lost 2 legs. 1950, we lost. We're going back. We lost the 1947 Cup semi-final. We've lost in the war. Hang on a minute. We haven't beaten Leeds in the Cup since 1924, 102 years ago. That's not a good stat, is it?
So it's looking good, Mike. It's looking good, mate.
Yeah, well, we own one then, don't we?
Actually, it's 1937. We beat them 2-0 at home in 1937. So that's the last time we beat them in the Cup.
I'd be happy with another 2-0, Mike.
Yeah, I'd take that. That's a brilliant bit of live statting. Love that, Lee.
That's it. That's what you get from this podcast, Mike. You start coming on more often, you get a bit of live statting like that. Okay. But yeah, the last of the Challenge Cup chat, Mike. Obviously, it's a few weeks away yet, so it's hard to really predict and think about. But again, a home fixture was something we're all looking at, and Leeds at home is harder than we anticipated. But again, you've got to be in it to win it. You've got to beat these teams.
That's right. And I think, yeah, being at home, it allows us to get a sort of big crowd behind us. I doubt in that next round there'll be that many sellout fixtures, but this could definitely be one. If you'd been taking a heading there, I don't think you'd sell out either, just because of season tickets, But yeah, it's exciting. It's an exciting draw, at least for us. More excited about that than even if we would have got someone like Hull away or who else really? Catalan away. There's a lot of fixtures that won't be as exciting as Leeds, and we're into the 16 now. Like there were only three possibly easy opponents. So yeah, it's odds on in it.
Brilliant. Dad, we're here for a reason. The Bellevue breakdown, the first of the season. We've got Toulouse Olympique at home. Speaking of teams in the Challenge Cup, it's not Toulouse because they're not in this year, actually. So, but I'm going to speak of a segue there, but that was a poor segue. But Dad, Toulouse at home, first game of the season, officially the first game of the season, disregarding the Swinton game. We spoke about it in the fans forum. And ideally, really, if you were given a bit of a ballot, a tombola of who would you rather have first at your first game of the year, Toulouse at home was probably the quote-unquote easiest game possible, would you say?
It probably is, because you've got York and Bradford also came up, but I think York and Bradford will be fired up for their first Super League game. I'm not saying Toulouse won't be fired up, but coming over here in the weather we've had at the moment, it's quite warm over there. They won't want to be. Well, they've obviously got to come somewhere. But Wakefield away, first match of the season on a Saturday night. in under the lights, under the rain, under the floodlight, under the fireworks. Yeah, we couldn't have asked for a better start because we've had some stinkers over the years when it comes to opening Super League games.
What's your opinions on it, Mike? I know we touched on it again on the fans forum that you filled in at last minute, but that's quite a nice fixture for us to start with.
Yeah, I think it's the dream fixture, to be honest. There's no like walkover first fixture, but I honestly I don't think I'll be much more confident of a result for the rest of the season, to be honest, for us. Toulouse, obviously, they've got motivation with it being the first game in terms of spoiling our party. I'm sure that Sylvain Houla's kind of like seeding that in his players already. The kind of thing like, no one's expecting you to win today. No one here likes you. No one here rates you as players. And obviously, the biggest one is the last time they came to Bellevue, we made them look like part-timers. So, they'll have plenty of motivation. It's just whether they're actually good enough to kind of stick with us is a totally different matter, but I'm sure we'll go into that in detail.
Well, give us a brief oversight initially, Mike. From obviously you've been looking up Toulouse and their players and stuff. We'll talk about signings for the year, and we'll talk about what they've got coming up. But what's your opinion on Toulouse as of right now, from the outside looking in?
Yeah, well, I followed Toulouse quite a lot last year, really, and the year before. Just because like I say, I'm a big rugby league fan. I'm a big fan of kind of Toulouse as a club and as a project. I don't massively rate the side they've got now, to be honest. It was a really good championship side. They're super fit. They're very well drilled. They have got plenty of motivation. They've got some quality as well. But ultimately, the team is extremely similar to the one we thrashed in the Championship Grand Final in 2024. Ashaw bought Paul Ulberg, Paul Marcon, Benjamin Laguerre, Shorrocks, Belmas, Garn, Romanos, Stefani, Marion, and Ruben Rennie all played that day. They're likely to be in the 17 this Saturday. That's 11 players that are likely to still be in the 17 this Saturday. And of that other 6 who they've strengthened with, it's not kind of crazy quality either. I don't want to be disrespectful. I really don't. But would we have picked up any of those players? Probably not. And, they've signed Thomas Lecan he was at Featherstone last year. He's standoff. He's all right. He's a neat little halfback, but he's not really a big threat. He's a more kind of controlling half, but we should be fine with him. His defence isn't brilliant either. I think we'll have a bit of joy there. They brought in Brendan Hands last season, I think halfway through last season. It was kind of on the fringes at Parramatta. He's a hooker, kind of small, fairly useful around the ruck, but ultimately nothing massive to worry about. And then they've got players who have kind of had a bit of proven experience at Super League level, but never really cracked it in a top side. So Rob Butler, who is at Wakefield for a bit, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was in our relegation season. He was, yeah.
Yeah, and he's all right. He's a big body. He's not super fit, but he runs hard, and I'm sure he'll be game. Also, AJ Wallace, who was in the system at OKR for a bit, and who else? Who couldn't quite cement a place at Hull KR in a very good team, in fairness. Cesar Rouget as well, who's must be in his. Well, you might be able to tell me, Lee, but Cesar Rouget must have played sort of 20 games at Super League level now, possibly even more. Big things expected of him at Catalan. He's from Limoux, actually. Strangely, a mate of mine goes and watches Limoux quite a bit. And his dad owns the main sort of bar in the square at Limoux. Cesar Rouget's dad, so he's like a bit of a minor celebrity there. And when he was coming through at Limoux, he was expected to be sort of like the great new hope of French rugby league. Still young, still got a lot of talent. But I think the fact that he's kind of gone to take an opportunity at Toulouse to go and try and break into their starting side is probably a bit of a sign. It's probably a bit of make or break for him now. And then probably the biggest name signing is just a loan signing. It's Tyler Dupree, who's obviously surplus to requirements at Wigan. I let him go and have a season in Toulouse to prove his worth, kind of increase his value, ultimately be playing on TV every week. And we all know what to expect from Tyler Dupree. He's kind of a big, awkward boy, kind of aggressive in his style, but ultimately he's got some brain farts in him. He's not that kind of neater player either. So, it'd be a big job for him to try and carry this side. So yeah, that's how they're shaping up this season.
What do you think of those recruitments? I know you've just kind of touched on them all there, but again, do you think they're struggling to recruit, or are they just relying more on the youth, or the fact that they're strong with what they've had over the past couple of years?
I think it was a fairly short turnaround for them from being announced that they were going to be back in Super League to having to recruit for the start of the season. It's quite cruel, and I don't think Bradford, York, or Toulouse are going to pull up trees this year. I'm backing them all. I like them all as clubs. But ultimately, I just think the turnaround has been too tight for them to get top line players in, and then also sort of like gel as a squad. I think it's too tight. All three of those sides are going to bring some surprises at some point, but it's not going to be in round one. It's not going to be away at Bellevue. They've got another sort of ace in the pack, actually. There's a lad called Luke Paulselli, and his story is really interesting. He's an Italian international, but he's Aussie. Played at Sunshine Coast Falcons, so they played with Caius, I would have thought, and I'm sure Tyson Smooth is aware of him as well. And he's a bit of a sort of maverick. He's got some good players in him and some poor players in him. I'd say he's a bit of a less proven Josh Rourke in some ways. Like it's going to come up with some absolutely wonderful moments of skill, but he's also got it in him to let a man past him. But yeah, it's a funny story, really. He actually signed for Rochdale Mayfield to come over and play amateur and just work. And I think he was registered with them for about 2 weeks before London Broncos caught wind and said, well, come down and play with us. We'll sort you a job. So he went down and played at London last year, and he was really impressed. He was one of the better players in the championship. So Toulouse have given him a dig here. I don't know whether he'll definitely make the starting 13 against us, but if he does, it'll probably be in the centre. So wouldn't be surprised if he nips over for a try at some point, but I also think we'll have quite a bit of joy down his edge and the halves, really. I mean, when Steve Mills was on with you guys last week, he said there's not many halfbacks who can't bend the back and hit these days. I'd say there's just a couple of exceptions knocking about, and sadly, I think Toulouse have got a couple of those. So I think if we can kind of play wide running second rowers, Matty Staunton, Seth, and Isaiah Van Gogh, if he gets kind of deployed there, and they can get one-on-one with Thomas Lecans, with Cesar Rougier, and with Jake Shorrocks, I think they'll just be absolutely fine. We'll have a lot of joy there.
It's interesting that you said that about Paul Policelli. He actually played 70 against that in that friendly against Catalan, but Jake Shorrocks wasn't available, so he might end up filling in everywhere else. But yeah, it's an interesting recruitment tactic, isn't it? Or if not less of recruitment tactic, and just trying to get who they can. Do you know much about Henry O'Kane, big back rower from Balmain and came through at Rabbits? Because I've had a few clips of him, and he looks a big body and can run a decent line as well.
Yeah, I think, he's obviously come as a similar opportunity to some of the lads we've picked up, but again, in the scramble of it. Like you say, he's a big lad. He's come through a really good system at Rabbitohs. Maybe he could be a bit of a surprise package, but again, I think if you just have 2 or 3 sort of like exciting players in an overall average team, it's probably not enough. And I just looked at the way we went about our business, both against OKR in the friendly, but also Swindon at the weekend. And I just think just that middle unit we've got now, fronting up is fearsome. So I just don't think they'll have the kind of the grind, really. I don't think they'll get anywhere near the grind with us. But yeah, they've got some players who can spring some moments, and obviously Ollie Ashore-Bott is the ultimate in terms of that. I honestly think he's one of the best. He's one of the most gifted players in the country in terms of pure talent, and he's always worth a few points. They can come out of anywhere for him, but I don't think he's going to be playing on the back of a pack that's kind of winning, really.
It's interesting you were talking about Cesar Rouge. There were rumours we were signing him last year. When
Really?
Jake Truman was injured, and we were trying everybody and anybody at halfbacks. And Mason was on his own. When we played Catalan away, apparently Cesar Rouge is good friends with Matthew Cozza. And when Matthew Cozza was coming back home, he was sat with Rouge on the plane. So the rumours went round that we were looking into signing him as a short-term loan from Catalan. Never came off, so it might have been social media talk. But when you mentioned his name, I thought, I remember him from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, there's no doubt he's a talented player. He's one of those that's kind of that Gallic tradition where he's got some amazing moments in him. He kind of forces the pass too much, a bit of a Tony Gigo and a bit of a kind of Artem Morg. I still, he's obviously going on to great things now. He's just won a Super League. So don't get me wrong, he's obviously a top line player, but Morg's also got those moments in him, and I think Willie Peters has kind of tidied a few of them out. But it's fun, isn't it? It's fun and it's entertaining, and that's why I like watching a lot of these players, a lot of the French players, because they often come up with stuff that you're not necessarily expecting week to week, and that's what part of what makes it exciting. But if you're a fan, it becomes very frustrating because you just don't know what version you're going to get week to week.
No,
I wonder if Jake Connor's got French heritage.
Oh, that's sorry.
Jake Connor must have. He's that kind of player.
Yes, he has, hasn't he? Yeah. Just before we leave the squad alone, I was looking at the squad myself just briefly, just this week, and there's only one player with NRL experience. You've touched on him already. The hooker, Brendan Hans, just come from Parramatta. He's played 40 games in the NRL in the last 3 years, came over on loan last year and stayed. Do you know much about him? He's come through the Penrith Panthers system.
I don't know loads about Brendan Nance. Jamie probably knows more, in fairness. I know he's neat. I know he's kind of his work on the ball is really good. But he's a fairly slight fella, and he's not one to really kind of biff up in defence. But then again, we've got hookers like that who also do a great job for us. So, do you know much about him, Jamie?
Not loads. And I knew he came through that kind of big Penrith development system. And one thing when I was actually looking him up early on today, it always stands out to me when teams perform on and off, when players are recruited. From the point he signed, Toulouse only lost one game. I think they won 9 out of 10 games that he was available for. And previous to that, I think they lost 3 or 4. So again, we talk about stuff like centralising play. It's a big tactic these days, isn't it, for a lot of rugby league teams. We spoke about what we're hoping Tyson Smoothie can offer us. So if someone like a Brendan Hands is tightening up that ruck and centralising it a lot better with a good amount of NRL experience, it can only be beneficial to him. But one player don't make a team, does it? Unfortunately.
No, that's right. And yeah, like I said, they've got some players with some big moments in them, but I don't think that'll be enough to get over us for the weekend.
Convince us that Toulouse won't finish bottom, mate. What scenario could come along that they won't finish bottom?
I'll be honest. I have them pipped to finish bottom, and it is again. I really want them to do well. I genuinely do, and I think over the next 3 or 4 years they will, and they'll have a chance to strengthen. Toulouse is a real. Can I just convince you they won't finish bottom in 3 years? Toulouse is a superb place for a player to play, and for an NRL or a fringe player to kind of resurrect their career and push on to the next thing. It'd be an awesome city to live in. The weather would obviously suit Australian players and stuff, and for English players as well who are not quite getting into starting sides. So they'll be all right. This season, I think, is just going to be a year too soon for them. I really do. A really kind of proud team, and they'll come for the teams around them. But I wouldn't be surprised if they're kind of targeting the likes of Bradford and York and Huddersfield and Cass, rather than kind of your top side. I think for any team that's kind of on and prepares well for them, I think they'll struggle, will to lose. But no, honestly, I wish them all the best. I'm not sure if this season's the one for them.
In all your French travels, and I know you've been there a few times, have you visited Toulouse, the city?
I have, yeah, a few times, but I've been lucky to go there a few times, and go and watch the games as well. I went and saw Ulker play there, saw Sheffield play there, saw Wigan play there. Never Wakefield, sadly. But yeah, it's a great place. The city itself is stunning. The ground's a fair bit out of town, but they're kind of like trying to sort out a bit of a fan zone thing with outdoor bars and a band playing and stuff like that. The stadium, I say, is one to grow into, but they're also looking at getting their own ground somewhere else, I think, close to the city. But they share it with Stade Toulouse, and it's probably about 2 times too big for them, really. It's a bit of a kind of it's not a great example. I'm going to say Wigan. A club like Wigan should be selling out their stadium every single week, and they don't even manage that. So it's a bit of that kind of situation for them at the moment. But yeah, hopefully it can grow. They've never had a really fair crack of the whip in Super League. They had that one season, 2022, won 5 games. It was really hard for the the city to get behind them, and kind of build momentum off the back of that. But yeah, it's a brilliant experience. I'd highly recommend anyone going out, and I think it'll go strength to strength as they stay in Super League because more exciting players, more wins on the board, bit more money in the bank, and they'll be able to provide something that I think all big RL fans will love.
Just similar to yourself, I've been once. I went 2 years ago, and that was to watch Wakefield, and that's the only scenario I can think that Toulouse may not finish bottom because the weather was baking.
Yeah.
I think it was in June, July. It was a horrible weekend because all the flights were cancelled, and we all had right fun. There was we could do a full story a full podcast on the journey to Toulouse and back. But it was 36 degrees there, and the wiped our backsides. It was the year when we won the championship, won every game about Toulouse away, and we lost 32-6 over there, and they ran us ragged. So I'll be looking at their fixtures. They play Warrington and Wakefield in May, Leeds and Lee in June, York in July, Huddersfield and Bradford in August. So I reckon if the weather's as good as it has been over there over the last few years, they will target some of those teams in the summer and run them ragged under the 36, 40 degrees heat they could get.
Well, I hope they do. I hope they leave it till July and August, but I hope they do. I think Hules will be looking at those fixtures, I think, in the middle of summer and thinking, all right, that's our opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm sure they might be saying different things internally, but I'm sure their target this year is basically to not finish bottom and beat some of those teams around them with better things on the horizon next year.
When you compare these two teams, Mike, rewinding back 15 months when we beat them in the championship final, what was it, 36-0, I think it was in the end?
Yeah.
36-0. We've probably got an even spread of players still at the club on both sides of things. You look at us, Jowett, McGilvery, Thornley, Pratt, Alforts, Gale, Lino, Bowden, Hood, Attorney, Ashurst, Vanganar, Pitts, and then the bench, Walmsley, Hamlin-Welle, Rodwell, and Doyle. I think the main difference is when you look at, we've still got a good chunk of those lads at the club, obviously, with the likes of Jerry, Thornley, Alforts, Gale, Bowden, Hood, Attorney, and Ashurst all gone. But I think the main difference for us is a lot of our players have improved. You look at Jowett and Pratt; they're far better players now. Vanganar's a big time player as a starter. Pitts is on his way out, bless him. Hamlin-Welle is one of the best front rows in the league, and you're probably looking at Lucky Walmsley and Tommy Doyle. Potentially being the last season with us, and Kai Rodwell's never got off the ground. I think when you compare it to the other side of it, you're probably more equipped to tell me, but I feel like to lose a lot of their players, maybe Ash Allbott, maybe Marshawn, Matt Marion, haven't really improved that much.
No, not a lot, I don't think. I don't think Ash Allbott has either, but I mean, he was a Super League player when he dropped into the Championship. And I think he's always been a Super League player since then. He just, he obviously likes his life there and he likes playing week in, week out. It's still a full-time environment. I don't think a lot of those players have massively improved, if I'm honest, from what I've seen. Maxime Stephanie, he's a much better player now, but he was very young at the time and he was still playing like an old head. So he's a much better player now, stiffer in defence. I've always been a big fan of Anthony Marion. He's super hard-working, passionate, kind of in the Ben Garcia mould, gets through so much work, but actually got a really good pair of hands too. But again, I don't know if they've wildly improved. I mean, you also think about that list of players you just read out, of the Trinity lads who played that day. With all due respect, we've replaced a lot of them with better players as well. So, we're a lot stronger than we were that day, and they're very similar. Like I said, 11 of the 17 played that day are going to play on the weekend. So, yeah, I think when you compare and contrast like that, it makes me feel more confident, to be honest.
Where can they worry us? What's Sylvain Houles's game plan going to be, do you think?
I hope it's to just chance their arm. I hope it's to just attack the game, basically, because if they don't do that, if they try and get in the wrestle with us and they try and beat us through the middle, we'll get battered. But so I hope it's to try some early kicks. I hope it's to throw the ball around early doors. I hope it's to spread as soon as they've got an opportunity. I hope it's to run into gaps, behind the ruck as soon as they find any, and really test us. But ultimately, I think we'll have to come out with some trick plays, basically freak plays, in order to kind of get some points on the board and hope they can hold us out in defence. But if we're as clinical as we were at the weekend, totally different challenge to Swindon. But if we are as clinical with the ball, I don't think they'll really be able to cope with us.
Dad, looking at we won't talk about every single game they've got, but even their opening 5 games of this season, where do you think that they're looking at here? Because they've probably got 3 really tough games and 2 games they're looking to win here. So they've got us away, Castleford at home in round 2, which they will be having the red ring around that, thinking that they've got to try and get some points there. Round 3 is Bradford away, which I think, early March in the mud or late February, it might be in the mud and the rain, might be a bit difficult for them, but it's a level playing field. And then round 4 and 5, they've got Wigan and Saints. So you're probably looking there. That's going to be quite tough. And then even further, then they've got Lee and Catalan and Hull KR. So that run of 5 games there is incredibly difficult for them. So surely they're going to be looking at Castleford and Bradford at round 2 and 3 there.
They've got to, haven't they? Because it is a tough draw for them. I'd love to know. I'd love to see a French derby. Toulouse Catalan in Toulouse will be a cracker later on in the season. I think Catalan will just be a little bit too strong for them at home. But like you say, Castleford at home, Castleford won't want to be going over. I suppose Castleford, it's not a bad time to go in February, March because it's going to be cooler. It's not going to be 36 degrees like it is when everybody else goes. But I just don't know, the way Castleford struggled to beat Doncaster on Saturday, and I'm sure they'll get better. And they're trying to mould a whole team at Castleford, are they? The number of signings they've got. But yeah, out of those 8, Castleford at home is the only one that, like you say, you'll put a red ring round. If we were Toulouse fans, that would be one you were looking at. Bradford away. They're the sort of teams when you're playing Castleford, Bradford, Huddersfield, and York. They're the ones that would be highlighted. Bradford away could be tricky, couldn't it? Because, like you say, it could be just a mud bath at Odsal in late February. So Wigan, St Helens, no chance. Lee, no chance. Catalan away, I doubt it. Hull KR at home, no chance. So there's not a lot there in the first 8.
What are you looking at from us, Mike? Because again, I know it's a Toulouse preview podcast, but we want to keep talking about Trinity as well. I've got pretty decent word, and I've got my crystal ball here that we've got a clean bill of health. So we're going into this game probably full strength. I won't be surprised to see Tommy, Mike, and Jazz start at the weekend as well. Could we be looking at building a big score here?
It's very possible, isn't it? Again, I think it depends how secure we are with the ball in the sets. I was watching the game at the weekend, just thinking, people talking about Josh Raw, who had a good game and took his chance as well, as like a possible threat to Tom Johnson. But the truth is, the wingers barely had to do it because we were so kind of clinical in the forwards. We were so neat. Caius, Caleb, who else started in that front row?
Vanganar.
They were so neat in what they did, and any offloads went to hands. And, just building that platform, I think if we do that early doors again, I don't think it'll be a problem. I love what we're kind of building at the club now, building in that team now, which is so much more consistency, basically. It's not just kind of like Caius is a perfect example. I think when he first joined, I thought he was going to be this kind of chaotic player with some awesome moments in him. But actually, he's really, really tidy as well and don't make many errors. And, I think that's what I'd like to see, basically, is a really neat performance where we lay a platform and then the points will just come. And I just think Powell is the kind of coach to hammer that into his side. And I don't think we'll be, doing silly things here. So, yeah, I think we can rack up a score, but I think it'll come later in the game.
And Dad, I mean, you longer than me and Mike, obviously, have been a Trinity fan. Do you think we're earning the right now as a team and fans to get optimistic about putting a big score on teams and being confident going into games now, thinking, yeah, we can get a good couple of wins under our belt here, when in the past it's been pessimism and cautious optimism?
Absolutely, yeah. I suppose the die-hard Trinity fans still can't get out of their system, can they now? How that negativity? Because I remember last time we played Toulouse at home in Super League. It was in when Toulouse were back up in 2022. It was a Friday night in the rain, and it was a shocker. I think we not think we beat them 18-6, but it was a struggle. I think that those days are gone now. Playing those sort of teams. I've just had a quick look at the weather. It's done nothing but rain all year, hasn't it? But looking at Saturday's weather, it's a nice sunny day. So the fact that it's going to be a dry track, why don't we go out? We don't want to be overconfident, but these are the sort of games. you're going to be building up big scores against. I can see it sort of being very similar to that grand final where we beat them 36-0. We just out overpowered them. Luke Gale had an awesome match that night. We haven't got Gale anymore, but we've got Jake Truman in the halves as well now. So yeah, we've earned the right to sort of expect a big score against these teams as long as we don't sort of have egg on our faces and be struggling at 8-6 at half time.
Bit of a quiz for you, Mike. Bit of a pop quiz. I know you didn't prepare for this, but it's tough to it is. Unfortunately, you're a rugby league fan, so you got to get it. There's been 8 players who've played for both Wakefield and Toulouse. How many can you name, and who are they?
Ollie Ashallbot,
Correct.
Rob Butler,
Correct.
Sylvain Hules.
Correct. Yeah.
Played 10 games for us, isn't it? This is a totally left field one, but Maxime Krezek.
He's not there. Dad's done these, so I'm gonna trust what Dad said. He did play for Wakefield, though, I think. I don't know if he didn't.
Yeah,
play.
but
He was
it might-
half was Max was Maxim, wasn't he? But no, I don't think he played for us.
No, he did.
He
Did he
might-
not? Did he not play for us? I thought
Or the
he
other way
did.
around. No, he played for Toulouse. If he
I
did
don't
play
know.
for Toulouse, it was maybe in the French league pre 2000 and whatever they came in the league. So I haven't got those records.
Yeah, I'm not going to try and claim it. Oh, goodness me. I mean, we could be here a little while.
A lot of them in the past couple of years for us. So I mean, one played for us last year and had left at the end of the year. People
No,
are
go on.
screaming. So we've got Sylvain Hules, Ollie Ashallbot, and Rob Butler. You've said Tony Gigot. You've mentioned already. He played for both.
I didn't even know he played for Toulouse.
Yeah.
Sammy Massalot, which was a pointless answer, I think. Roman Navarrete,
Oh, yeah.
who a bit of a unit, quite like him. Big Hugo Salabio.
Yeah,
Salabio.
didn't know he played
Yeah.
for Toulouse either.
I've lost where he's at now. I think he's Huddersfield, maybe, or Hull, between the
Hull.
two.
He got Hull.
And then the one that I thought everyone is probably shouting down the podcast microphones. Matty Russell. Matty Russell played for Toulouse.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Of course he did. Yeah. So only 8. Dad there. Obviously, like you said, since they became properly integrated in the system. But yeah, that's the one for that. Dad, let's get your predictions. I know you've kind of said it already. I'm guessing you go for Wakefield win. How far in advance do you think we're going to get?
40-0. I'm going to go 40-0. I'm going to go straight out there. It's going to be like the grand final from 2024, Championship grand final. 40-0 minimum. Keep the defensive line.
Yeah, it's hard not to get excited in a weirdly optimistic way. To be fair, I'm leaning that way. I'm not like I'm hoping that they get a score on us. I think it might be a bit like when we switched off for 5 minutes against Swinton and they came through the middle. I think I do worry for him in a protective kind of way that, you look at that squad compared to 2 years ago. I wouldn't say they struggled in the championship last year, but obviously they won the grand final, but they finished third or second. I can't remember where they actually finished.
Second, but they also lost to, Widnes, to Halifax.
Yeah.
I think lost to Widnes twice, lost to
They were,
Halifax.
they were nowhere near as dominant as they've been in the past. And I think, we will be coming out storming. I think Jazzy and Mike and Tom it's their first game of the year. Obviously, they've not had any friendlies. And we've got a really good team now. It's easy to forget that sometimes. But we've got a great team. So I'm also going to say Wakefield by 30 plus. Not that I'm hoping Toulouse get a try. I think they will. I'd love it if we nil them. But what a great way to kick off the season. Mike, before you give us your predictions, tell us kind of the 3 players that we should kind of keep an eye on for Toulouse and who think they might cause a problem, followed by your prediction.
I mean, yeah, the obvious one is Ollie Ashallbot in terms of like mercurial coming up with a chip over the top. He scored a similar try in the friendly last week against Catalan, where just because he's first to react as a natural sportsman, and he's got a fair bit of pace to him as well. But I also know that Powell will have done a lot of video on him because that kind of showed in that championship grand final. When we got towelled by Toulouse away when we were in the championship, he was their star man. And it smacked to me of the coaches being a bit unprepared, if I'm honest. But they obviously don't make that mistake twice, and I think we'll have them covered. We definitely, we battered him in the grand final, and I think we'll aim to do something similar. Out the back, I like Paul Ulberg in terms of kind of he'll probably run for the most meters for Toulouse. A winger, but super industrious, makes a lot of meters out the back. And he knows how to finish as well. So if they do get any space out wide, which I'm not sure they'll get loads of, but he's someone to watch out for as well. And I'm not saying he'll be a game breaker, but keep an eye out for Anthony Marion as well, because the way he goes about his rugby league is sort of admirably boring. Does all that kind of like the tough stuff really, really well. A bit of a Ben Garcia, a bit of our Pitsy, to be honest. He's got that about him. So yeah, keep an eye out for them three.
And Dad, just before we round off, looking at the past fixtures, there's not been many again since Toulouse have been integrated into our system. But it's interesting to look at every time we've played them at home. So we played them at home in May 2016 in the Challenge Cup, beat them by 40 points to 22. Then played them in the league at home in 2022. We won 18-6. Then we played them obviously twice at home in the championship season in 2024, 28-18 and 36-0. So we've won 4 games ever against Toulouse, and they've all been at home. And every time we've played them away, including Magic in 2022, we've lost. So kind of that side of things is on our side. We lost away in the Super League 14-20 in Toulouse. We lost at Magic Weekend in Newcastle 38-26, and obviously lost in the Championship 32-4. So home environment, hopefully Bathy has put some magic potion on the turf as well, and it's going to come home to roost for us.
And the crowds, we've got the crowds written down as well, and they've slowly increased. That cup game in 2016, before Toulouse really got going in the leagues, 2,500. In 2022, that sort of wet, windy, dull March Friday night, 4,300 turned up. In the league game 2 years ago, 6,700. That's when we started going places. And then the grand final, it was an 8,000 sellout. So the crowds have built up. And I think we won't be far off sellout on Saturday as well. When you look at the Trinity social media, we're certainly selling our tickets. The past players have snapped up all their allocation this week. So I reckon we could, whatever the capacity is now, I've lost track a little bit, but I reckon we'll be on target for that as well for a bumper opening weekend.
Superb. Anything to round off, Mike, before we close out?
No, just looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting in it. Less league predicting, and let's actually see how these teams play.
Are you going?
Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah. Me and my dad, and my brother's coming over from Manchester as well. So yeah, family affair.
Love that stuff. Brilliant. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching episode 254 of the Wakefield Trinity Heritage Podcast. You can find us on podcasting platforms worldwide and follow us on Facebook under the Wakefield Trinity Heritage banner, Twitter and Instagram too, at WT Heritage Pod. A lot of you might be watching on YouTube now as well, so thank you very much. Give us a view, give us a like, give us a subscribe. It's flying at the minute. Thank you very much for that, everybody, as well. Massive thank you to my co-host, Lee Robinson, and our Super League resident expert Mike Butcher. He'll be back again in a few weeks to preview our Hull FC home game. We'll be back at the weekend with the back chat after the Toulouse game as well. I have been Jamie Robinson, and we will catch you all down the road.